Chris,
I don't care.
I have a question just because, for me, similar story, arrested 11 times as a youth, group homes, boot camps, juvenile prison, incarcerated 3 years as an adult. And there was a certain point where I didn't have full accountability. I know you didn't grow up with your father. He wasn't there. I believe he left before birth, correct? And
Wow.
so my question for you, for the men that are listening to this podcast, what was it for you to say? Was it the military? Was it your own personal belief? Because you, at some point, you weren't taking accountability. So,
Yeah.
what made you switch to where you started to take full accountability? Because at one point, I had to do it because I was just not being successful by playing the
Yep.
victim.
Yeah, certainly the military was instrumental in helping me grow up. I was in an awesome community and I was so fortunate because from the time I checked in to the team to the day that I checked out
Mhm.
years later, I was always the youngest guy. So I was
Mm,
around people who had been around the block, who were
yeah.
older, who were more experienced, who were better than me. I mean, they were
Yeah.
better than me. I'm going to call it like it is. And I was a young hothead. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was right out of dive school.
Hmm.
I thought I was something because I made it through the training. It's hard training. 70% of the people who go to the training do not make it through for one
Hmm.
reason or another. So I thought I was the shit showing up there, young guy. And I got humbled quick. And these
Yeah.
guys put their foot in my ass as often as it was needed. And it was needed a lot back then. But one of the, one of the main things that I learned early on is the importance of personal responsibility. One of my first bosses in the Navy used to tell me, look, nobody's coming to save you. You got to figure it out. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Figure it the fuck out. That's all.
Yeah.
Figure it the fuck out. Figure it. Like I'd go and ask him, hey, ask this question. Figure it the fuck out.
Right.
And initially, I felt a little resentment,
Hmm.
like, why is he being an asshole? Why he should be able to say, no, he's actually doing me the ultimate service
Yeah.
by
Exactly.
giving me that advice and telling me to figure it out, because in life you got to figure shit out. You got to figure out you got to solve problems, especially as a man. If you want to make money, if you want to make an impact, if you want to just be in the top echelon of man, you have to be a fucking problem solver. And if you can't even do a fucking Google search, right? If you got to go ask somebody and take
Yeah.
more time, 10
Yeah.
times more time than it would take for you to do in a Google search, like you're
Right.
fucked.
Well, especially now when we have ChatGPT and all these other resources, especially
Correct.
for the youth right now. And I
But
think it's important, the personal accountability. That's why, because right now we have a bunch of men that don't want to be men. They don't want to take personal accountability. They don't want to rise and they don't want to set the bar and then raise it. And so that's why I was more so curious, because you do see a lot of men that go through the abuse, they go through the system, and a lot of the times they don't know how to take personal accountability. But what I will say is I've been blessed enough to see men that have gone through extreme traumas, had horrible upbringings, Carlos, yourself, men around me. And the number one thing that I've seen that was an indicator for their success is everything was on their shoulders.
Yep. Yeah, when I was in my 20s and basically at that point where I realized I needed to make some changes and I had absolutely no idea what it is that I could do, but I did intuitively feel, and this is actually kind of interesting. I felt like I was put on this planet to serve a higher purpose, but I truly had no idea what it was. Now, the reason I say this is an interesting thing is I don't actually know if I intuitively believe that or if that was just something that I said over and over again to the point where I actually started to believe it and believe
Right.
in it. But through my personal development journey, I mean, I was a drug dealer. I had a tremendous amount of free time on my hands, and I went to somebody, a friend of mine at the time was the perhaps only successful person that I had access to, and I put my cards on the table and I let him know what I'd been doing and what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do something I'm proud of, but I have absolutely no idea where to start.
Yeah.
Can you just point me in the right direction? And he gave me two pieces of advice that changed my life, and to this day still continue to change my life. He told me that I needed to first start surrounding myself with people who were better than me. And he said I needed to immerse myself in personal development. He's like, you have a victim mindset. I've just sat here and listened to you talk about all of these stories. Your mom was a drug addict. Your dad wasn't around. You've been arrested all these times. Like you're saying all these things as if like you're wearing it on your sleeve like a badge of fucking honor. And honestly, his words, it was like a punch in the gut,
Yeah.
but it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I I started to immerse myself in the books. I mean, I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I started to read everything and anything I could related to becoming a better man. And through the pages of the personal development books that I read, I started to understand how to sort out a victim mindset and started to understand that your mind, you're in control of your thoughts, and what you think shapes your reality.
Yes.
So through the personal development, I mean, I've read over 1,000 books. I'm
Wow.
not sure if you guys know that that's kind of one of my little claim to fames. And what I would like to say about that is it's not a flex, because one of the things that I learned from reading over 1,000 books was the fact that it was actually a huge waste of fucking time. What I should have done, and it took me reading over 1,000 books to realize, I would have been better off reading the same 10 to 15 books over and over again. Because when you hit a different level of consciousness and you are a more evolved individual, you're going to receive things a bit differently.